Welcome back, everyone, to the Creator Spotlight here on the Spotlight. I'm still Jeremy Lambert. That's still Steven Jensen. And below us, a man you know here from Fightful.com. You can catch him every single Saturday, almost every single Saturday, except when WWE is accepting their money from the prints and the blood. Otherwise, every single Saturday at noon Eastern on Grapsody. It's Phil Lindsey. And on Bleacher Report, Phil, how you doing, buddy?
I'm good. How are you guys?
Good. We tried to. I talked to Will and Reg last week, and I thought Grapsody should have been on Peacock, and the other show should have just put that on YouTube or something. You guys shouldn't have been booked. That was bumped. That was a travesty that you guys had to move days for that show. Absolute travesty.
Yeah, this is twice this year we've had to move for WWE because they decided, hey, we're gonna just throw a pay-per-view on a Saturday afternoon.
Terrible. Then you got yourself in trouble, Phil. Let's start with this. Usually I start with like, how'd you get into wrestling media and stuff? I'm gonna start with this quick backstory of, I told you a long time ago, do not get too many followers on Twitter. Just don't do it. It's nothing good comes out of it. And Phil, you do too good of work. You do too good of work. You got too many followers, and now you just tweet simple things and you get yourself in trouble. What are you doing?
Yeah.
What are you doing, Phil?
It's amusing sometimes to me. Sometimes I tweet stuff that is clearly to pop myself. I do that quite often. Like sometimes I'll just post something like simply a GIF. Nobody knows what it's about. Nobody understands the context of it, but I do, and I'll laugh at it. Or I'll tweet like 2 sentences. One of the funniest things I've ever done that somebody got mad at, by the way, is for about, I want to say 3 days in a row, I was posting, "We don't have to do this, guys." It was just, "We don't have to do this, guys." That was the entirety of the tweet. There was no context to it. Just, "We don't have to do this, guys." And I did it, I want to say 3 days in a row, and it took that amount of days for somebody to finally see it and get mad at it.
So what did they say? Like how? Like what were they mad about?
Okay, so the context of this is. What started me doing it is I would get on and I would see people arguing about something wrestling related,
Sure.
wrestling Twitter, and
Yeah.
I'd be like, I just would tweet, "We don't have to do this, guys." And so the third day that I tweeted this on was the day that the Swole stuff was happening, and somebody took this to go, "We do have to do this, and if you don't see anything wrong with what Tony Khan said," I was just like, that it was a running joke.
You were just doing a morning thing of
It was
just a general, we don't have to do this. A general, we don't have to do this.
It was just a bit, and I think what happens a lot is it's usually people that don't follow me or they don't really understand how I tweet, and so they'll just see one tweet and they'll just blow up at it, just like the recent fiasco of this weekend of that was a really weird tweet for people to find. There was no hashtag on it. There was no context to it or anything. It was just like, it's given overbooked. 3 words.
I told you that tweet popped me because when I read like it's giving overbooked, when I read like it's giving, I'm thinking like, oh, it gives it to you all the time, like it's serving a look. A lot of RuPaul Drag Race over here in this household. So like that's how I'm reading. It's like it's serving you overbooked. Fightfuloverbooked.com. Go over there, subscribe. Like that's how I'm reading it. So like it popped me, and then I saw all the like replies to it. I was like, why are they mad at this? What is up with people?
Yeah,
what
turned into, "Will you please shut up? All this cursing at me." And AEW show Phil is trashing a WWE show that at that point I hadn't watched all the way through, by the way, which is a funny story in itself. I don't like really getting into the personal life stuff, but I was having a really tough day personally, and so I just tweeted a joke, and I that's how I saw it was. It wasn't like I had the pay-per-view on. I wasn't watching it with my full attention, but I was just looking at all this stuff, like all the spectacle. There's all this pyro going off. Everybody that comes out that interferes has an entrance. Like it's just like this is like the most overblown, over extravagant thing ever. And not to say that in a bad way. It wasn't a criticism of the show or the match. I was like, this is a lot. Like, so yeah, I just thought this was a pretty innocuous tweet, and that turned into, "Oh my God, will you please shut up?" So Here's the other thing with me that I've also realized. Twitter is like the surface level of internet interaction. Underneath that is a network of group chats. Everybody is in a group chat. Everybody is in a Discord or something. And so there are discords of people that have their stance on whatever is going on Twitter, or they're in a group chat with other people that may or may not like certain people. And every time a tweet pops up that they see of this person, they put it in their group chat and they discuss it. And because those people have already decided that they don't like me or they have an opinion of me, then I have to jump on this immediately and go, this guy's tweeting again. Let's go. Let's ride on this guy. And it's like, I don't know. This is a pretty nothing burger tweet to ride on me for. And I've seen worse things. I've tweeted dumber things than that.
I've learned. Oh, go ahead.
No, I was just gonna say I just think that people have this perception of me at this point. Because I tweet very positively about AEW. I've made it no secret that I prefer AEW to WWE. That's not to say that WWE is bad. It has its moments when it's not good, and if it's not good, I will say it's not good. But I think people have just decided because I work at Bleacher Report, and I've been very positive about AEW that I only trash WWE, which is also funny because I think if you follow me, you would know that's not true. But I think this is people that don't follow me.
I've learned that there is a deeper side of Twitter and everything kind of through your tweets. When I see people just like mad at you over your nothing tweets, I think they're nothing because you, very similar to me, very similar to Reg, we're just like popping ourselves on Twitter and just like laughing like, take this however you want. But then I see like people get like legit mad at you and I see your responses to them and I'm like, how are they finding this? What are they doing with this? And I think nothing of it. And I see it with Sean all the time too. It's like, why are they going out of their way to search for this stuff and to find this stuff and respond to this stuff? I don't understand it. I don't understand it. I'll never understand it. Yeah, I know you fairly well, at least through these types of circles. And I read your tweets. I think they're funny. I'm like, who's actually mad at this? But then I learned that, yes, like you said, there are group chats and like underbelly of Twitter who are, I don't know if this happened to me, to you, Jensen, to anybody listening to this. Your tweets are just being passed around in group chats like, oh, look at this idiot, and everybody's just actually mad at you.
I have now collected a list of all the circles that do this. I will not give these circles attention on this podcast, but I've now collected a list of the circles that do this. Some of them are just trolls, but no, it's some people that just legitimately don't like me, and I get that. Look, you're not gonna like everybody. I don't really care about that. I don't really care if people don't like me. I just don't like when people make up things that are just not true. And fair. People do that quite often with me. They just try and make up things that are just not true. Like with that, just to try and make up that I'm just bashing the pay-per-view. Listen, I don't care enough about this Saudi pay-per-view to make that a big deal. And I mean, even if I didn't like the pay-per-view, who cares?
Who cares? Yeah.
It's not that big of a thing. And the people that do it, funny enough, that are like, oh, well, you hate everything WWE. You can look at their tweets about AEW and they're worse. One of the guys, I kid you not, one of the guys that got mad at that tweet, if you go and look it up, their quote tweet to me was, I can't say the word that they said on here that was what I was called, but they told me to shut up. And right above that tweet, they said they retweeted a guy saying Logan Paul is better than everybody on the AEW roster. And I was like, but my tweet was that bad that you had to tell me to shut up, but you retweeted that tweet above it. Come on, sir. Come on. Like, I know what this is about. You're a super WWE fan, and your circle is people that are super pro WWE and also people that don't like me because I appear to be super pro AEW.
Well, the crazy thing is, like, and I've kind of learned to battle this way just personally. I try like to kill them with kindness approach the most that I can. But then after that, I just ignore people. Like, that's just kind of my style. But the thing that a lot of those people I feel like just don't fully understand is we were all that WWE fan. Like we were these people, but then like something changed at some point, and like we started liking other wrestling or whatever, and we might prioritize certain companies over others maybe a little bit, but that's just personal preference. Every single wrestling fan is going to have wrestlers they like, wrestlers they don't like, better booking decisions in their own minds than what they're seeing on television, or trying to rub it in someone's face that they came, oh, I knew that was going to happen, so I'm going to not shut up about, I told y'all for months this was going to happen, and it happened. Like, but at the end of the day, like, it's amazing they get so mad over this kind of stuff, because I'll tell people like that all day. Listen, I love the WWE. I get it. Like, I used to, we all did, but it's okay to like other stuff too. And if you prefer AEW over WWE, you're allowed to. Just like you're allowed to prefer WWE over AEW. It doesn't, it's all good at the end of the day. Like, if you're a wrestling fan, should get along with all other wrestling fans at the end of the day, because like, we're wrestling fans. You know what I mean? Like, it's amazing that like it's as divided as it is when it comes to that kind of stuff.
Yeah, I think that I'm also in a precarious situation because I am, considered media, and I think that people consider me a person that is trying to build narratives for one company and create narratives to knock down another company. When that is just simply not true. I've made it very known. I say all the time, hey, don't support these companies. Support wrestlers you like. It doesn't matter where they're at. Support the wrestlers you like. I don't know. But again, these are people that don't really listen to me regularly or really follow me. They just look for tweets to dunk on. That's it.
It's true. And hey, the perfect example of that, I haven't been in the WWE for a long time. I'm wearing a WWE branded Cody Rhodes hoodie because I support Cody Rhodes. I'm a fan. It doesn't matter. Like, I'm going to support the dude, just saying. Yeah. So just to your point, like, be a fan of these wrestlers and where they're at. If your favorite WWE wrestler leaves the WWE and they wind up on the indie circuit, go support those independent companies and go buy their t-shirt and support the person.
Yeah. I don't know. I just think people really need to chill out with certain things. But I also realize that certain people have made it a vendetta with me. And that's fine. I just don't, know what that really does for you.
Well, I think you're also going to get a lot of haters just in general because of how successful Grapsody is and stuff. You know what I mean? Like, there's just going to be a certain pocket of fans that are just going to disagree with everything you say because they think that they should be you doing it in front of a lot of people and having their opinions out there and stuff. So there's also just like a level of success I feel like people reach that like you're just bound to get a certain amount of haters no matter what.
I have to be very political with my answer to that because
this isn't paywall, Phil.
I know specific people that feel that way about me, and I know a specific person that has been hating on me for about 3 years, like before Grapsody even existed. It's weird. I don't know. It's weird.
That's a long time to hold a very petty reason to dislike somebody, and like I always say, like I think there can be a level of jealousy of like, oh man, I wish I did that type of thing. Because like I'm not gonna lie to anybody. Sometimes I feel that it's not even like I'm jealous this person did it. I'm just jealous of like I'll use a Will Smith reference. He did the song I Wish I Made That. Like sometimes I'm jealous of like, man, that's really good. I wish I had thought of that. Like that's really creative. I wish I had thought of that. Then it's just like, well, you have this platform to kind of do whatever you want. Just go out and kind of do this stuff. Like, I get it. Some people may not have like big platform and stuff, but we've all got platform through Twitter. Anybody can get a YouTube and everything. Like there's work to be done. And if you just do good, consistent work, it just, a lot of times stuff just starts finding you. And you got to knock on a few doors, but yeah, a lot of times stuff will just kind of start finding you. So it's not necessarily like, oh, I'm jealous. Like I deserve this opportunity. I deserve this opportunity. But yes, I will fully admit that I'm like, oh man, that's really good. Like I wish I was smart enough to actually come up with that and do that. That's the type of jealousy I have towards people. I'm gonna go ahead.
Yeah, there's a lot of people making great content out here. I try not to judge anybody's content, but I think sometimes people do things and I'm like, oh, how are they doing that? Or like people that are getting all of the big WWE interviews, I have yet to get in that circle where I can make that connection. And sometimes I'm just like, man, come do our podcast. What's going on? But again, that's not me knocking anybody else that's getting those interviews. I just think that, it just hasn't happened. And sometimes that has nothing to do with how good your work is or, anything else. Sometimes it's just a matter of who you know.
Oh, I can't stand Chris Mueller because he gets all these big interviews that I wish I got. Like I just can't stand that guy. Let him know that next time at the Bleacher
Chris,
Report party that I assume you guys
Bleacher
have
Report
like
party.
annually. Let Chris Mueller know that I can't stand him. Thank you.
Chris Mueller is actually instrumental to a lot of stuff that I've managed to do. I would not be at Bleacher Report without his recommendation. Um, I don't know if people know this,
Oh,
but we wouldn't have gotten that Jade interview for Grapsody without
really?
him giving her the the wink to go, hey, why don't you do my friend's podcast? That's how we got that interview. And funny enough, I know somebody that was mad at us about that interview and assumed reasons why we got that interview that were just not true. But
See, don't tell me Chris Mueller is still a nice guy. He's legitimately like the nicest dude, and I'm trying to get him to fight somebody, or I'm trying to get somebody to fight him. Like, you know
I don't
how I
see it
am.
happening.
I'm trying to always pit people against each other, which I realize is terrible. But Chris Mueller's the nicest dude. I can't stand him.
No, he's great. He's done me a lot of solids. Can't say enough good things about him.
No, he's fantastic. Chris is the best. How did you get started overall in wrestling media, Phil?
Um, we have to get all the way back into, I think that was 2017, 2018. Yeah, how do I? This is another one I have to be diplomatic about. Why do I have so many enemies? Like,
Why do you have so
a
many
lot of
enemies?
enemies, man.
I want to know this. You're one of the nicest dudes that I know through this, and like, why do you have so many enemies?
I don't know if I would. I don't know if I would call myself nice though. I have
Oh
moments
well,
where
you're nice to me. That's all I really give a shit about.
I don't know. Uh, yeah. So 2018, I started writing at Diva Dirt. I would say probably other person that's instrumental in anything that I've had so far is Kristen Ashley because she gave me my first break. Um, and so from there, I wrote there for probably under a year, helped Kristen out with Bell to Bells, and then I got some other things here and there, um, stuff that I never thought I would get. Like, I mean, I started writing with Daily DDT. I believe that was around 2010, 20. No, I'm sorry, not 2010. What am I talking about? Just 2019. I think 2019. Yep. Um, and that led to a lot of stuff. That led to a lot of stuff that I didn't realize people read as much of my stuff from Daily DDT, and I got a lot of recommendations to do other things from there, um, which is interesting because you'll talk to people that are like, don't write for little to nothing or don't write for free. Um, and I feel like some of the early stuff I was doing where I wasn't getting paid a ton, um, that led to me getting a lot of other work because people would read that stuff and go, "Hey, this is good. Why aren't you here?" Or what can I do to get you here? And that just happened to work out for me. So some of it is just dumb luck. Um, I could just admit that some of it is just dumb luck. But I think that there was a point where I was writing a ton. Like at between Bell to Bells and Daily DDT, I was putting out a lot of content. And so I think it was just a matter of somebody saw it and was like, "Hey, would you be interested in doing this?" That's how I got the Complex article. That's how, it's because somebody saw my stuff at Daily DDT and was like, "Hey, would you be interested in doing this for us?" And that was just kind of a one-off freelance thing. And the Bleacher Report thing came kind of the same way. Uh, so yeah, just a matter of just kind of grinding for a few years.
Yeah, when that's Oh, sorry. Go ahead, Jeremy.
Oh, I was just gonna say, like, that's how I first sort of took notice of you, and I just saw that you just put in work on those sites. I just saw like every single day, like every time I check it, you were doing like 50 posts a day, and like I, as someone who just does news for a good chunk of my day, I respect people that just have that work ethic and have that type of output. I was like, oh, I see Phil, he's out here just like working really hard, and I think that's sort of how we connected. And I was like, I want to talk to Phil with the Double or Nothing review a few years ago, and yeah, but that's how I first started noticing you, is through those sites and just your overall work ethic. And you're right, is like, yeah, a lot of that stuff you might not get paid a lot, might not get paid anything, but if you just like kind of continue to put in that work and you have the ability to do so, it can lead to bigger opportunities. I do want to talk about the complex article here in a second, but go ahead, Jensen.
And I was just going to kind of echo that as well. Like we've talked about that on the show before too, with some of our other guests about how important it is to be willing to, do work for free or for less than what you think, just for the opportunities potentially when they come up. I know I wrote for Daily DET for a little while as well, and that was the same kind of thing for me, where I had reference to stuff. If people said, "Hey, you want to write? Do you have anything you can show me?" I have something I can show you. Same with a podcast, even if they're not getting paid, or you don't think that like a lot of people are listening. It was the same with me in The Weekender. Like 4 years ago, Sean needed some audio for Fightful Select, and he was like, "Hey man, I've had you in mind. Like, can you just send me some audio of some of the stuff you've done?" And I had some audio there, and he was like, "Yeah, this works." It's just like, but it's it's being there and being prepared for when the opportunity comes up and the timing's right, and you're ready to jump right in. And I want to hear about the complex article as well. And I want to also, of course, hear about how you linked up with Will and Reg as well, because like obviously what you guys are doing with Grapsody, I think is pretty fantastic. So if you want to talk about the complex article first, I'd love to hear about that.
So the complex article came. Years are all melding together. I feel like that came.
It's October or November 2020. I have it pulled up. I don't know when it came together, but that's when it got published, November 2020.
2020. So at that time, I had not left Bell to Bells, but I kind of had my foot out the door because I was doing more than one thing. That was the year I started at a Bleacher. I had also started doing the editing, and I had my own column at Sportskeeda as well. And so, yeah, busy time. That was also like right when the Wednesday Night War started, so I was also trying to cover two shows on the same night. It's a crazy time. But I got a random message out of nowhere from editor at Complex, and he was like, "Hey, we're doing this article with AEW on diversity. Would you be interested in writing this?" And I was like, "Never heard of this guy. Who is this guy? Is this a rib? What is this?" And so, of course, I did my research and tried to, learn as much about this guy and figure out, like, is this real? And I was like, yeah, sure, I'd be interested. And then that turned into, hey, hop on this Zoom call with me. And I said, okay. Hopped on a Zoom call, and I'm just sitting there the whole time like, what am I doing in here? How did I get invited in here? Sometimes I still don't know what to make of that. But I understood after I talked to people about it how I got it. Because, again, it was just people that either saw my work somewhere else and thought, yeah, this is the guy that we would want to drive the voice for this. But it was a really good experience. Just being able to pick all of the people that we interviewed, pick all of the people that we chose to focus the article around, to talk to the guy that did the art for it and to tell him, these are the people that should be in the cover art and have input in that. It was cool. I hadn't done anything that big up to that point yet.
The complex article, I'll make sure to have the link in the description. But yeah, that was one thing. I remember you tweeted about it and like just how excited you were, because I know you talked to like Scorpio Sky and Sheeta and Nyla Rose, and the art for that was like really fantastic too. And to make sure I put over Benjamin Mara who did the art for that. But that was like some really good cover art on the graphics that they did for the wrestlers. And like that, I remember, so I knew you'd written articles and stuff, but this was like the first like big feature I remember you doing. And I was like, oh shit, this is really, really good. So I put that over.
Yeah. The coolest thing about that is, again, I talked to the editor about everybody I wanted to talk to. And it was just basically like, hey, let me shoot my shot and see if I can get this interview. Probably I'm not going to get it. And at the time, I don't know if people remember this. At the time, I tweeted something like, hey, AW, let me interview Hikaru Shida. Like, let me get this interview. And so that was one of the names I threw on the list, and I was like, I'm not going to get that. And so at the very last minute, I feel like he came back to me with everybody else that I could interview. I had already set up dates with everybody. And he was like, I I think we can get Sheeta for you. And I was like, nah. Nah. And he was like, yeah, I think we got this. I said, and that was one of those, again, I was tweeting stuff a lot to pop myself, and there were a lot of excited tweets, like a lot of gifs of just excited tweets of getting to interview her. And nobody knew what I was talking about. And I was like, this is crazy. Like, I brought up the tweet later to say, like, yeah, I kind of manifested this. I kind of put this in the air of I want to interview Sheeta, and it actually happened. And weirdly enough, that's kind of like how Will took notice of me, because Will was like, "How did you do this?" But no, it was a great experience. But of course, as usual, that came with its negatives as well, because that came with people that have taken that article as me, whatever, working for AEW or whatever they want to call it, shilling or whatever else. No, I don't think some people realize how people make money as a freelance writer.
Yeah.
And that's whatever. But again, that's just one of those things where for every good thing you do, there will be someone somewhere that tries to make it into a negative.
Yeah. 100%. Talk to us about Grapsody and how all that came about.
Grapsody came about in kind of steps. So, me and Will did the post show for, I think that wasn't Double or Nothing. Was it Revolution where they had the exploding barbed wire match?
Yeah. Yeah.
That was Revolution. We did the post show for Revolution, and we had talked before that, but that was the first time we recorded anything, and that was back when he was still on RBR. And afterwards, we talked for a long time, and it was just kind of like I had all these kind of like, I don't want to say grievances, but just all of these things as being a black podcaster, which I could roughly call myself a podcaster at that time. I was a guest on a lot of podcasts, but I had my own podcast. But just all these grievances about being a black podcaster, being black in this media space. And there were a lot of things that he agreed with. There were a lot of things that we found common ground on, whether that be, certain complaints I had, certain things, being a Swerve fan, and then finding out like he's related to Swerve and all these other things. And I was just like, yeah, at the time, me and Reg, which we've been friends longer, me and Reg's friendship goes back years. Like, I guess I should also put that part in there before the Will stuff, is that Reg is one of the few people that before Bleacher, before anything, was sharing all of my articles. And I used to tell him all the time, like, it's cool. I appreciate you, man. And so, I've always supported him. He's always supported me from a very early point. So we've been friends for a while. We before our group chat existed with the three of us in it, me and Reg would DM each other joking about stuff that we see on the timeline all the time. And so we've always kind of had that rapport. And so when I talked to Will that night, I said, hey, sometimes me and Reg do podcasts on his YouTube channel. You should come through. And he was like, yeah, I like that. And I said, okay. Fast forward, he did start doing a Saturday show. He's doing wrestling with the weekend or whatever it's called. And I was on the episode right after Last Dance. People might not know this, but I bought my ticket to Last Dance from Will. And so we talked about the show, and we did like a loose review of the show the day after Last Dance, and certain individual happened to pop up in our chat that we thought was a joke at the time, Tony K. And I was like, nah, it's just somebody with like a similar name. And so after that, we got a lot of attention for that episode. And then after that, he did the episode with Reg, and he was like, hey, this was a lot of fun. We should do this again. And Reg said, yeah, we should do it with Phil, though. And that was kind of the light bulb moment of, hey, we've constantly kept saying, like, we should do something together up to this point. And it's just kind of like, hey, let's do this then. Let's make this official. And so he pitched it to me one afternoon, and I told him, I said, hey, that sounds great. I will not do this without Reg though. And he said, all right, well, if Reg is in, let's do this. And so Reg ended up in. Uh, Everything kind of happened fast after that. It was like he pitched it to Fightful. Um, that happened. Next thing I know, we had a logo. And I think in the midst of us figuring out we had a logo, Reg had recorded what would become the theme song. Yeah, it just all kind of happened fast. I'm still sometimes humbled by how fast it happened, how fast our audience has grown. Uh, it's kind of, yeah, it's kind of surreal for me.
You guys do just fantastic work. And I remember when I found out about it, I may have been one of the first to know because Sean clues me in on a lot of stuff. And he, like, when the initial tease was kind of coming, I was like, what's this about? And Sean clued me in on everything. And I was like, oh, okay. Like, I may have actually messaged you of like, oh, I know what's going on here about what's to come. But yeah, I was very excited for you guys. And then like, you guys have just killed it ever since. And it's great to see, despite my beef with Reg, that he wouldn't follow me for years, that I've called him out on. And Will has talked to me about like him manifesting everything as well. It's a very cool story. It's a cool story how all of that came together. And now you guys are going to media scrums together, making CM Punk cry, getting shout outs from FTR and everything.
Yeah. They're the weird night. That's in Chicago. That's in Chicago for Forbidden Door, and Will was sitting in the front one. I was sitting behind him. So when Cash was like, "Yeah, Grapsody," you could see like me behind him, like, "Wait, what?" Yeah, but look, it's just really cool to make something cool with my friends. I could get into a lot of the cool things we've gotten to do together, a lot of success we've had, but I don't think that it would be the same if we weren't friends.
Yeah.
And I think that a lot of the joy I get out of this is getting up on Saturdays and either goofing off or talking about wrestling with my friends.
Tell me about Paywall Phil, because I've heard the stories, I've listened to the stories, I've heard the stories from other people, but from the man himself, who is Paywall Phil?
I don't know anything about what you're talking about. I have told many people to stop encouraging this. I think this just started because I saw something, and anybody. This is why I'm like, I don't know if I would call myself a nice person. I am very reactionary and I see a lot of stuff. I see all at this point. I see way too much stuff that I don't need to see. And so I was like, yeah, I cannot tweet what I think about that. I cannot say what I think about that on Grapsody because people will feel a way about it. And so the very first episode of Ask Grapsody, somebody asked me a question, and I was like, oh, can we talk about that here? And that's kind of how this has started. And yeah, I've definitely said things at times where I was like, man, I probably shouldn't have said that because somebody's gonna hear that, and yeah. But oh well, what can you do?
Do you remember what that topic is that made like that light bulb went off? You're like, oh, wait a second, I can say that here.
Yes.
This is not paywall, Jensen. He's not.
So I can't give it for okay.
Yeah.
Let's pay $5 a month, everybody.
Yeah.
I can tell you what it was, but I won't give everything that I said. It was a period where people were doing the whole, oh well, AEW and their representation, but those same people were also tweeting weird things like Triple H or Cody with a kufi on their head, and I was like, what are we doing, man? Like, I don't know. I don't really like it. I don't like it.
Sign up to Fightful Select. You get the Weekender with Jensen, and you get the Grapsody Q&A every other week with Paywall Phil. That's reason enough to sign up.
Yeah. I really think people should stop encouraging me to do this. Well, we finished the episode 1 week, and I said something that a lot of people probably won't understand what it's a reference to. But immediately afterwards, I was like, yeah, I probably shouldn't have said that.
I will not promote it anymore then because I respect you and I like you and I don't want to get you in any more trouble. I don't want heat with you either.
It doesn't matter. At this point, I will get in trouble regardless. It is in my bio on Twitter that I am a troublemaker. It's now
You're a
now
Phil
Mando.
from Chicago. I just feel like that just comes with the territory.
It's Mando at this point that I do something that is gonna get under somebody's skin or something dumb that somebody's gonna repeat later. Uh, it's just gonna happen. And I'm also the kind of person that I am very much in the moment that I'll react in a moment without thinking about it. And I'll just go, dang, maybe I shouldn't have said that, but
You, from what I've seen, you've stayed out of trouble. Like I don't know. Maybe okay. I mean, hey, again, you're nice to me, so I think you're a nice person.
Yeah, most people that people think are nice is just based off of their dealings with them. They don't see other things that they do elsewhere.
Well, just okay. Well, don't do anything that makes me change my mind. Like,
no, why?
no.
Why? I don't have an issue with you. Why would I have an issue with you?
I don't know. I assume everybody dislikes me, so that's
no. We have shared we have shared bonded grievances on other things. So no.
we have. Who are some of your like dream interviews or maybe like a dream feature that you would like to write?
Dream interviews. I mean, just because I think it would pop me tremendously, and I don't think that either of the other people in Grapsody would be nearly as excited about it, is Seth Rollins, of course. I think that would be the funniest interview ever, just because I think people know that I'm a Rollins guy, and they're both not. I think it would be a hilarious interview.
Okay, let's talk about this for a second because you are a Rollins guy, and you are right about Seth Rollins. By the way, no one will tell you that you are right. You and my wife have just completely like all in on Seth Rollins from the very beginning, and now people are turning the corner on him. He's like the biggest baby face in WWE. Take your victory lap, Phil. You deserve this victory lap on Seth Rollins.
No, I explained the character very on. It's not that hard to understand what the character is, and people just for whatever reason don't like the guy, whether it's the Osprey stuff, whether he's a big company guy, they've just decided they don't like him. I'll never forget, I was in the spaces at one point when I was doing tons of spaces. Had to retire that for reasons. I was in the spaces and somebody was like, "What is Seth Rollins' character?" And I sat and explained it, and people essentially laughed me out of the room. Like, that is not the character. I think my explanation is that Seth went away briefly when Becky first got pregnant, and he went through like a midlife crisis. He's a guy that peaked very early in his WWE career. He's accomplished more than most people early, and he got to a point where he's older now. He's a dad, and he doesn't know what is his state in WWE. He just went through his first time as the guy, as probably the biggest babyface in the company, and it failed. It failed in dramatic fashion, and I think that left him like, where do I go with this? Like, why do people hate me? And I think he was like, no, people don't hate me. I just have to give them what they want. They want me to turn heel, so I'm a heel now. Look, guys, I'm doing heelish stuff. Oh, you don't like that stuff? Don't people think it's cool when you dress nice and use words like drip? I'm using drip. Isn't this cool? Aren't my outlandish outfits cool? No, you still don't like me? Didn't you guys like that laugh I used to do with Architect? I'll do that all the time. Don't you guys love me now? I'll wear the glove too. Love me. And it's like, oh, that's not enough? I'll put freaking in my name again, just like that shirt you guys bought. Still don't love me? How about my theme song? You don't like my theme song? It's great. And I explained that, and somebody was like, that's not it. I said, it is. That's pretty much the character. And so I remember, like, maybe a good 2 weeks after that, he did an interview, and somebody asked him what the character was, and he basically gave my answer almost word for word. And somebody shared the article with me, and they were like, holy shit. And I was like, I told you guys.
Really?
And so I've watched this thing grow and grow and grow. I've watched people At one point, I said, "Man, as much success as Roman is having, Rollins is having better matches than him. He's getting more over. No, Rollins is having a better year than him." And people were like, "You're wrong on this." And I said, "All right." And I've been watching people come along more and more like, "Man, Rollins is killing it." I was like, "I told you guys." I don't know.
What about Rollins makes you such a big fan of his? Like, is it I know obviously the in ring you just mentioned, obviously he has great matches, but like, if for him to be like one of, if like not your favorites, in the WWE, why Seth Rollins for you?
I think Rollins is having great matches, but I think for the first time in his career, I think he's putting it together with the character stuff. I think this is the first time I've seen him do great matches and also do um, stuff that isn't just surface level character stuff. Because I think that was the last thing he was really missing.
That makes sense.
And he's a better promo than I think people give him credit for.
I agree. I think he's a really, really, really great all around performer, and I think he's really he's killing it right now. I was kind of confused because I'd been watching WWE so rarely, the last couple of years, but I always watched the pay-per-views. So I had only seen him like losing like over and over, and I was like, "What's up with this? Like he's so good." I didn't understand like the Cody stuff. Obviously, I'm a big Cody guy, but I was like, "This is still kind of weird." Like Rollins is like he's just always losing, but then it seems like he's kind of turned that around recently, and the fans are like really, really behind him. So clearly, it's whatever they've done has definitely worked, and and it's good that it has, because it would suck for a guy that talented to peak that early in his run if they didn't have a way of like rebounding him. You know what I mean?
The other thing I appreciate about him is whether I agree with everything he says and does, he loves that company.
Yeah.
And I feel like he wants that company to succeed almost more than anybody. And I feel like he's been more selfless in trying to help that company succeed than most people on that roster. I said at one point that I think he's the best heel in the company because he's put more guys over and he's done more for other guys in that company to make them look like a bigger star. And I feel like he could very easily be like, "No, I'm out for self. I want to be a top guy." But he hasn't. I feel like for the last year, he's done nothing but lose and help people get over.
I will not say a bad word about Seth Rollins because what he attempted to do for me personally. So Seth Rollins will always be good in my book. And on television, I think the man is fantastic. Absolutely fantastic. Yeah, nothing. I would love to see you interview Seth Rollins with Will and Reg, just sitting there salty, just mad that they got to listen to his laugh. You and Seth are cackling, having a grand old time, and they're so mad about it. That would be great. Would love that.
Yeah, my real dream project is that I would love to get a translator and interview Joshi wrestlers because I don't think that people interview Joshi wrestlers in the States as much as they should. I mean, I see outlets that do it, but I don't see big outlets doing it as much as they should. Um, and so there are a lot of like stardom wrestlers that I would love to interview. That's, I mean, essentially how the Sheeta Dream interview came about. I mean, if I had to pick anybody else that's like one of my favorite wrestlers, Asuka, and I'm like, come on, man, send us Asuka, give us an Asuka.
So if I were to ask like who are your favorite wrestlers in the world, is it Rollins, Sheeta, and Asuka? Would that be your list?
Yeah, I'd say Okada's probably on there as well.
It's a damn good list.
Yeah, I mean, of course, like Brian. Like, who doesn't
Of
like
course.
Brian?
Of
Brian
course.
is the best wrestler in the world.
The GOAT.
Good
That's
list.
the GOAT right there. All right, Phil, we'll get you out here on this last one. What is the coolest thing in your room?
What is the coolest thing in my room?
You can't choose yourself. You got to choose something in your room.
I haven't had anybody choose themselves.
I know. I just thought of that actually. I was like, that would be kind of good.
Yeah, I have a ton of junk that I have. It's not really junk. It's just a ton of stuff that I've collected over years that I have not hung up anywhere. I have a copy of the Power Rangers the movie poster somewhere with almost
The Ooze one?
no, just the original movie poster with like
Okay.
all 6 members on the front, and I think it's signed by at least 4 of them. I think I'm only missing 2.
That's dope. Big
You
Power
have to
Rangers
find it.
right here. Yep.
You have to find it, Phil.
No, I have
What are we
it. I
doing?
just haven't hung it up.
Okay, where's it at? You gotta put it. You gotta show it on camera.
I want to see
Oh,
it.
I had to get up and get it.
Yeah,
Oh,
and that's what
We'll
everybody
do
just
it.
leaves
Yeah, yeah.
and gets up and they goes and get
Yeah.
it. They go
Me
and
and
get what
Jeremy
they
will
have.
talk
I didn't know you wanted me to do like a whole show and tell. I just
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
describe it. Hold on.
Come on, Phil. Let's
Watch
go.
the product, Phil.
I love that. Everyone's always so thrown off by that.
Yes.
When
They don't
Phil
care.
comes back, should I grab all my Power Rangers weapons and stuff? Like for when Phil
Oh,
comes
they
back?
probably pop. They talk about Power Rangers all the time on Grapsody. I'm pretty
That's
sure
dope.
Will's a big fan.
I wish I
as
could
well.
catch it more often. I'm always busy on Saturdays. We're usually around the time, but I see the clips.
Here we go. I know Will's a big Power Rangers fan.
That's
There you go.
as
awesome.
well.
you
There we
I love
go.
that.
Yeah, that movie ruled.
Yeah, it's got
Yeah.
Tommy there. It's got Aisha, Billy, and Jason David Frank,
Okay, who's your
Imagine.
favorite Power Ranger?
and Rocky. Yep.
Favorite
Who's
Power
my
Ranger?
favorite Power Ranger? Green Ranger.
Yeah.
Oh,
thank
Green
you.
Ranger's awesome.
See, these are all the right answers. I love this. See, we could do an entire. I could have done an entire interview of just Power Rangers with you, man. I love that kind of stuff.
We will have to do the Spotlight and Grapsody Power Ranger crossover episode one week.
Yeah,
We'll have to do that.
yeah. I'm sure I have other stuff, but just as a Power Ranger fan as a kid, and like just to have the movie poster and
Yeah.
like
That
at the
rules.
time, the movie was super cool, and being completely freaked out by Ivanhoe's
Yeah.
in clown form that still disturbs me to this day. It's one of the most terrifying things I've ever seen. I just don't like clowns like that.
Phil, we appreciate you joining us, man. Let everybody know where they can find you at.
You can find my writing at Bleacher Report, sometimes Daily DDT as well. You can follow me on Twitter. My Twitter handle is above. If you don't want to follow me, you don't have to, though. If you don't want to see me in these Twitter streets with people attempting to drag me or attempting to start fights with me, you don't have to. You can love me from afar. I understand.
If you follow Phil, don't yell at him. Don't be mean to him. Just enjoy his tweets. Enjoy that he's having a good time on Twitter. Don't be mean to Phil. All right, everybody.
Yeah.
You can also always watch Grapsody, youtube.com/Fightful every Saturday at noon Eastern. Phil, Will, and Reg. Phil, again, we appreciate it, buddy. Enjoy the rest of your night. Enjoy the rest of your day. Guys, we'll be right back here on the Spotlight.